Greetings and salutations, friend. I am Jeremy Tank, and if you are watching this, I am your brand guy. What does that mean? Well, that means that you've got the expertise of someone who has been doing branding, design, marketing kind of work for over 20 years here. Someone who's on your side and in your corner to help you stand out. Because isn't that what it's all about? All this noise out there in the world, don't you want to stand out to your customers, really connect with them on a level that you feel appreciated, liked, seen, and valued? That's what branding means to me. And if that's the sort of thing you're interested in, I've got a great program to, it's called Manifest Design that we can talk about. But you know what? I don't really feel like talking about that today. Because I talk about it all the time. And if you're interested, you can check out my website, www.thinktankcreative.net. And you can learn all about it. And if you need branding work, if you need somebody to help you there, I would love to help you. But there's more stuff that I do. There's more stuff that I talk about. There's more stuff that I think about. Hi, Teresa. I see you on there already. And, you know, today I'm a little bit less full of energy today, because I just finished with an RTT session, and this was me getting a session, which is really rare these days. Normally I'm working with people through this manifest design process, helping people figure out their own life, their own vision, their own everything, and then we wrap that up with an RTT, a rapid transformation therapy session. This is hypnotherapy that's really getting into subconscious blocks to help you, right? Just because those subconscious blocks, they really hold you back. They really challenge you. And, gosh, I received one today from another practitioner, which, it is fantastic, let me tell you. But there's sometimes things that when you're going through this process, when you're in it especially, it gets emotional. When I talk about these things, I say, you know, when you're growing up before the age of 7, you are basically trained by your fight or flight response. Do you fawn over somebody so that they don't pay attention to you or start to ignore you? Do you fight back? Do you challenge? Do you run away and hide? Do you just freeze? And if those are the extremes of the experience, if that's like 100% out in all of that, and we know that this experience of being alive, that just being here, there's a yin and a yang to it. There's different energies, wavelengths, and particles. These are all ends of spectrums. So on that fight or flight, you know, there's the 0 chance, and then there's the 100. And when you're growing up, you know, even before you're born, you are impacted. Even in the womb, it is sensorial. You just experience senses. You can feel what your mother is feeling, a lot of times through the umbilical cord, because emotions, right? Emotions are chemical triggers in the brain that tell your body what to do, that tell your body how to behave, that tell you how you feel. This is distinguishing emotions from feelings. When I say I'm happy, that's an emotion. Technically, if I'm happy, I should be feeling happy. What does feeling happy feel like? Feeling happy feels like a lightness in the chest. Feeling happy feels like blood rushing through me. Sometimes it feels like a tingle in my fingertips, maybe like blood's not getting all the way down to the fingertips. Feeling something is an embodiment. Emotion is the logical call out of what all those things are, and really it gives it a direction so that your body knows which proteins to produce to trigger cells to move in certain directions. It's all a chain of reaction. I feel something, and then identify that as an emotion, and then it moves through the body and tells the cells, tells the body how to be, how to move, how to react, how to exist. And that in turn drives the cells to speed up or slow down, to tear apart other parts of proteins and recycle them, or to expand and duplicate. DNA transcription is where the DNA unbundles itself into RNA strands, and then each strand, pieces of it, get duplicated out as new proteins that tell other cells what to do. It's this process that continues forward and forward and forward, and all of these things actually trigger more reactions in the brain through the subconscious that tell you the very next instant what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. You know, sometimes there are voices, sometimes it's just thoughts, sometimes it's just instincts of what to do, what to say, how to be. And those in turn trigger more fight or flight. If you're older in life, it still triggers fight or flight. What do you think anxiety is? What do you think depression is? This is your body telling you shit's not right. Fix it. There's things going wrong, things you're feeling, you're denying, things that you are thinking about too much and not feeling enough, things that you are just not giving yourself enough space to be and relax and figure it out. And it's hard to find that today. It's hard to get the space today. It's hard to find the moment to figure out what's going on inside, right? The biggest challenge of health today is a disconnect between the mind and the body. We don't pay attention. We don't remember. We don't really learn in school that how you feel here in the body affects how your brain functions. Duh, right? Duh. But it affects how the brain functions. And when it comes to how the brain functions, how the brain perceives that, and the reaction from that, we can go back to some of that early training, that Neanderthal training, the Neanderthal brain, the limbic brain, that says, okay, fight or flight. Choose something. We're going to freak out somehow. Or we can choose to say, okay, well, the body is experiencing, what is that, a rumbling in the tummy. I got tingling in my toes. My knees are a little shaky. Am I nervous? Am I excited? Am I anxious? Am I hungry? Maybe I'm just hungry. There's space in between actually feeling what the body is feeling and what the brain interprets it as. And how the brain interprets it makes a change in the proteins that come out of that, in what happens in our body from that, and then how our body returns and recycles and tells our brain and our logical centers, oh, well, here's what needs to happen next. It's a spiral up. Okay, it's a spiral. As you grow, you're not growing down, right? You don't grow down, you grow up. And as you grow up and we move forward in life, in time, in our perception of time, things don't really move backwards. They change, they adapt. You can't unbreak a broken leg, but the bone can mend itself and the muscles can mend around the bone. You can tell the body it will heal perfectly. It will heal seamlessly. It is healing seamlessly. It is, okay, there's a trick for you. The body, the mind and the body, same thing. Okay, same thing first of all. The mind and the body only hears, only understands, only comprehends present tense. You can't tell the body you will heal perfectly. Will is a future tense. When does the future get there? The body doesn't know when that's eventually going to happen. There's no guarantee. There's no anything. Again, you experience now. Your mind, your consciousness experiences now. So if you're doing something, think of it now. I'm happy now. My body is healing now. I feel happy now. You'd be kind of surprised how much when you tell yourself these things, it makes a difference in how your body reacts, especially if you get the tense right. And it's difficult to get the tense right because our conscious minds want to look backwards in time and forwards in time to predict what things will happen in the future and to try and save us from decisions we've made in the past, or to tell ourselves a different story based on the past. And yeah, a lot of these thoughts came up because of my own RTT session today. There was a one point where there was a regressive scene. I'll go ahead and share because I don't mind. I'm very open here, and I feel like that's okay because I feel like you get me, you love me. This is a supportive space, even if it's going out to the entire world. This is a supportive space because if you're not watching this, you don't care. It's just that simple. There was a whole scene where I was regressing and I was experiencing. I wasn't just watching. I was experiencing myself as a 6-month-old baby, which was very strange to me. But I know from stories from my mom that I had a type of colic. I didn't sleep for months, and the things that I ate, the breast milk that she fed me, it upset my stomach and it didn't digest well. She had to go on this whole very special whole foods kind of diet, whole fruit diet, in order to feed the baby the right breast milk that actually allowed me to sleep. And it was like 6 or 8 months before I actually slept, before I actually made it through a whole night, before I actually felt good. And there was me in this crib just crying, feeling pain in my stomach, feeling pain throughout my entire body, and just feeling completely ignored. And you can still, it's still so raw, that feeling, because it felt like literally my whole body was on fire. And I bring that up because for that to still come back and attack me with this much ferocity in my emotional and my feelings, my core, and what that means, because I felt abandoned. I felt insignificant. I felt like there was no help for me, that I needed to do something to help myself, and I was completely unable to. Now, when we talk about subconscious blocks, when we talk about subconscious things, and we talk about RTT, it's a lot of subconscious stuff because the conscious brain only manages about 5%, of your life. The subconscious manages 95% of who you are and what you're doing on a daily basis, on a second-to-second basis. That's not just the stuff that goes on in your head. That's also digestion and breathing and movement, balance, structure, composure. It's so much about yourself. And so, of course, I go directly from an RTT session right on here, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about? I'm feeling so emotional, so just kind of reflective now. What does that mean for me? What does that mean? Like, I know I have abandonment issues. Many of us do. I know I have issues of feeling a lack of control, of a lack of needing to fix something, needing to do something, and sometimes not being able to do it, but also feeling like nobody else recognizes that something needs to be done. So I feel like I have to take authority and step up and do things. This is who I am. I mean, this is part of being an adult. I accept as part of my personality, but it's super interesting to me to have scenes like this brought to my attention that are part of an emotional memory, a core memory, a feeling in my body. Really, that's super powerful, that brings it to my conscious mind to say, look, here's part of the reason you are who you are. I was 6 months old. That's what it felt like. I can't tell for certain. It's kind of hard to tell. Like, internally, I should know this, but I'm like, okay, it felt like 6 months old. So kind of strange, but really also empowering to say who I am, and that lack of control. That lack of control. And that sort of made me want to bring up the topic of control today, in the last 15 minutes or so of this, and anger. Because I know that as a wee baby, I was probably seeming pretty angry. I didn't really feel anger. But there's a thing about anger. Anger, a lot of times, anger has a lot to do with control, or the perception of control, or the perception of the lack of control, or the perception that we have to do something. Remember yesterday I said, make some decisions in your life. Try this test. Change it from I have to I choose to. Because a lot of times we want things to happen, we intend for things to happen, we desire. I try not to use that word because that's the Buddhist word. That's what they say. Like, everything in life, this suffering, this life, the feelings that we have, a lot of it's built out of desire. Like, we feel we have to do something, but we desire something else. We we desire how we want to be, who we want to be, but we can't see how to change our identity. And I've talked about this before. You don't change your identity. That's this great mythology of the self-help revolution, is that, oh, change who you are, change your core identity, but you don't even experience your identity. Everyone around you experiences your identity. All you can do is be you. And part of that is embracing that you can be a you that you want to be, whomever that is in your life. You know that there are people that influenced you, that you looked up to, that you felt stupendous about, that made you feel warm and feel cared for, and hopefully at some point in your life you said, I want to be like them, and you've taken a couple of their attributes and wound it into your soul, wound it into who you are and how you react to things. Because that's how you really, that's how you evolve as a person. You can't change your identity. You can't change who you are, but you can embrace behaviors. You can embrace reactions, thoughts, sayings, things that help you become the person that you want to be in the future. It's not changing your identity in any way, because you don't know your identity. You never experienced your identity. And if you start to change your reactions, if you start to change the way you behave, you're not changing your identity. You are still you. You will always be you, and you are perfectly, wonderfully you. But other people start to see you differently. And you aren't changing anything about yourself. You're just reacting. You're just being. A human being is a human becoming. A human being is a human becoming, somebody who has a vision of what they will do, what they are moving towards, who they want to be, how they want to react to something, how they want to be perceived, perhaps. And a lot of that has to do with, my perspective of this stuff has a lot to do with branding. It has a lot to do with the whole world of trying to get a product or a service or a thing out there so other people see it and go, yes, that's a perfect solution. Yes, that's wonderful. It feels so great. They communicate so well. They provide a fantastic service. They are dynamic and astute and caring. And wow, I'm going to go shop with them again. A lot of how I look at psychology has a lot to do with brand behavior, because a lot of brand behavior has a lot to do with psychology. And certainly marketing these days is 98% psychology used against you as a consumer and for you when you're the business. And some of that feels to me like taking control away from others, because it's literally using tricks of the brain to get someone to do something. And I don't know about you, but there are certainly brands that have used those tricks on me, or I'll go ahead and say it. At one point, I entertained on here allowing people, contact me, shoot me your sales pitch, show me your thing. Oh my God, I can't anymore. I just can't. I've been completely overwhelmed with the amount of garbage messages that I receive that are honestly, it feels like it feels like trying to sleep with me on a first date. Didn't even buy me dinner first. Doesn't stop to actually ask how I'm doing, how I'm feeling. Didn't even bring me flowers. That's what it feels like, and it's dirty. It's real dirty, and I don't like business that's dirty. I like communication and this sort of thing, a dialogue, figuring out what the vision is, figuring out what you want to do. Because when you go about business in that certain way, it's removing control from a consumer. And when you remove control or a perception of control, you get angry at things. And anger, in a lot of ways, if you repress anger, it's not good, right? If you repress that feeling of anger, if you let it boil up and you take it and you stuff it right back down, it just grows and festers and rots and can physically damage you. It increases stress. It increases cortisol release in your body. Epinephrine can spike if you just get super angry all at once. Adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine spike in your system, and it trains the brain, because when you have these outbursts, It trains the brain that this is okay. This is the appropriate, proper reaction to something. Like if you're out in traffic and your normal reaction is to be yelling and screaming at other cars, even though they're just doing their thing, you're training your brain that that is a natural, normal reaction. And honestly, the more that you fire and wire those neurons, the tighter that bundle of neurons gets. The more difficult it is to have a different kind of reaction. So as soon as you get in the car, your brain is already primed to be screaming and yelling at somebody else. Is that how you want to live your life? Is that how you want to feel about others at any given point? They are not getting in your way on purpose. They're trying to live their lives. They have a completely separate life, a completely separate destination, a completely separate everything from you. And just because they got overlane does not mean you need to scream at them. Anger, a lot of times in this, comes from a perception that you have control. I can't control what's in here, so I'm going to pretend to control what's out there. And somewhere in the process of that, we get mixed up in the head. Because you can't just shove it all down, but if it's an instance like that, I've been around a couple of people now that they yell and scream and get angry. They throw their phones, they pound on their computers because the computer's not working right. It's not the computer's fault. It's doing what a computer does. This is based in electrons, ones and zeros, binary. If you think the computer is purposely trying to damage you or do something wrong, maybe work through the anger a different way. Maybe not. Maybe step away. Maybe understand. Maybe try to gain clarity. Why are you angry? Well, because the computer won't work. What about that makes you angry? Because that shouldn't be there. That means that you are trying to control something outside of yourself instead of asking yourself where that reaction is coming from. And yes, that RTT brought all of this stuff up for me. Like, where is my anger coming from? Where is that reaction coming from? Am I trying to control myself, or am I trying to react to something out there, telling something out in the world, out in the universe, that it's its fault? It is making me angry. Nothing can make me angry except for me. I allow myself to feel the feelings, identify it as anger, and then move with it, accelerate it, grow it, have that volcano erupt. But that's not really healthy. I mean, it gets it out, which can be great. And if you are in the circumstance, a lot of people, if this is you, then I'm sorry. A lot of people grow up with so much trauma that anger gets buried and stuck and poisonous right inside of them. And some of the reason for that is because they can't express it at the time. They can't express their hurt, their pain, their anguish, their trauma because of an abuser, because of somebody putting them down that they feel they can't stand up against them. They feel like they can't say the words they need to say, and so it goes inside of them. Marissa Pierre has this saying, it's like, when the body can't express tears openly, it finds other ways to express that pain, that sorrow. And that goes into the tissue, it goes into the body. And Chinese medicine, that certainly gets stored in the skin, the liver, the kidney, the heart. And of course, we have a greater prevalence of cancers and all these other things today. The body turning against itself, adapting to itself in poisonous ways, of changing cells as things get stuck and stagnant and move and twist and break in different ways. And we kind of have to ask, okay, at what point can we be comfortable with ourself, with others, with whatever the reaction is? Because really it comes down to you. If you're watching this, it comes down to you. What are the things that you feel like you need to control in your life? Are you the primary thing you're trying to control? Or are you trying to control everything around you? Because this goes back to that quantum field, that quantum world, right? You are the physical, the particle. Your soul is the wave, your spirit, your energy, your vibration, your greater consciousness is the wave. And the wave is everything possible. But the wave is not telling the guy in traffic in front of you to stay in front of you and slow down. The wave is not controlling your computer and making it go funky. The wave is not cutting off your Wi-Fi. The wave is not messing up your Starbucks order. The wave is not... It's not physically doing something to intentionally draw a reaction out of you. And if this is part of that mirror theory, guys. If you're feeling that anger, if you're feeling like things are working against you, if you are feeling like the universe is against you and it's just roiling up that anger inside of you, you are training your reticular activating system to find the anger, to locate things, to allow you to express feelings that are inside of you that need to be resolved, that need to be let out, that need to be worked through. Because anger, a lot of times, is the contrast. Remember contrast? One of the primary functions of the brain? Anger is a contrast between what you expect to happen and the reality that happens. When you expect that traffic will follow certain directions because you ordain it, it is your time, it is your place, you're driving, you're doing the thing that you do to drive your way, and someone gets in your way and you yell at them, you unleash and hurl a hurricane of anger at them, A, you're scaring other people in the car. B, you're poisoning your body with those proteins, with those emotions, with that energy, with that vibration. C, do you really need, like, what is driving that? What is that anger? Because you can't control all of those cars. You can't control what the barista does to your drink. You can ask them to remake it. You can be polite about that. You can say, that's not right. I'm sorry. Can you repair? You don't have to say, I'm sorry. I've been trained, this is the RTT again, I've been trained a lot to say, I'm sorry. I've been trained in my youth, in my growing up, to be the one that is wrong, to admit that I am wrong. And that makes me angry, because I'm not wrong. I can be wrong. There is the propensity for it, and when I am, I apologize. But I was trained to be wrong, and now in my adult life, I find myself saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, sorry." And there's no reason for me to be sorry, and that makes me angry. You can hear it in me, you can see it in me. That makes me angry because I have some sort of reaction that's coming up and saying, "Oh, you need to react this way." My expectation, you need to react this way. You need to say, "I'm sorry," and in reality, I don't. And actually letting myself go without that is better, because it means that on a subconscious level, I didn't do anything wrong. I know this is a little bit all over the place today, and I'm sorry, Teresa, you're the only one really watching right now, so, thanks. It's just that RTT really gets in your head, really puts a spin on things, and when we do this, that's why it's so good for working through the whole process of branding and figuring stuff out, because it really does anchor in and challenge your worldview. It really does challenge some of the emotions and some of the intent that you put into the things that have gone through your life and the traumas that have made you who you are. But there's definitely certain things that key off ideas and triggers, and that's okay. That's part of the process. Letting it go, bringing it up, experiencing it, feeling it. Feel it, heal it, release it. That's the whole concept here. And the subconscious, because it mostly is the body. It's the cells, it's the proteins, it's all the things moving around. Yeah, see? This is all the subconscious. And it's trained through all of this stuff. And it's hard to move through. And you can't do it consciously. That's the reason I love RTT, because you aren't doing this. Like the gurus, the master Hindu gurus, the meditating guy, I'm talking long beards sitting on a mountaintop somewhere, Om sort of guys, they figured out somehow how to train their minds down into the state where they can reach and sort of work through their own subconscious by themselves. I think we're really lucky today that we have practitioners and methodologies that are actually getting down into these same sorts of states and helping guide others. Like me, that's my purpose. I'm guiding others through this so that you can heal, so that you can work through some of the anger, some of the pain. Because Maybe you want something in life. Maybe you want something in life really badly. But you don't know how to get it. And it's not that you can't, it's that something is holding you back. And maybe you don't know what that is. Maybe you make excuses, or there's a story in your head that stops you. Or maybe it makes you angry to think about that. That's the kind of stuff that, A, I'm working through right now. And two, it's the kind of stuff that RTT is really great at. And a couple other methodologies that are fantastic. NLP, fantastic. CBT is fantastic. But those are more conscious efforts. And RTT is really working with that subconscious mind to release that stuff, because it's so important to release the anger, to release the pain, to feel it and heal it. Because when we do this, it opens up a space inside. And that space is the potentiality for everything you can be, everything you want, everything you're building, everything you dream about. And releasing the pain, releasing the hurt, releasing the stagnation is getting to the point of creating that space. Because when you create the space, the universe fills it with something else. It fills it. And if you're moving pain and moving it aside, it fills it with something that's not pain. It fills it with light. It fills it with love, compassion. And that's why I keep coming back to the point that you are wonderful. You are perfect. You are enough. You are worthy. Because at the core, all of these feelings, all of these emotions are part of the growth process. They're part of being human. This is part of the human being. And the journey you continue on is how you treat yourself, how you are gentle with yourself, how you allow yourself to be, so that you can become. Okay, well, that was a fun one today, huh? Again, I'm Jeremy Tank. If this is your first time watching this, I really appreciate you sticking with me, because this has been a tough one for me to do today. Tree, always love you, hun. If you are working on your business, trying to start a product, a service, if you're a consultant, I was working with somebody this morning who is making homemade soaps and is like doing really well and wants to start a men's line of soaps. And I'm like, this is great. If this is working for you, fantastic. Here's how you might position that. Here's how that might look. That's what I do. I say, here's how that might. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish in life? What does that look like? Here's how that might look. Here's how that might feel. Here's how that might sound. Because I love that creative exploration. And that really is branding. That is the core of figuring out your brand, who you are, and where you're going with it. And that is manifest design. And capping that off with something like RTT, which I have just gone through just before this video. Man, it's wiped me out. I feel energetic and sad and happy and thrilled and emotional and energized and weird and funky and heartbeaty. I feel alive. So, my friends, I hope you feel alive. I hope you are wonderful, and I hope you have the most fantastic remainder of your day. Thank you so much. I love you.